So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Nick Robinson eviscerating Greg Hands, who's the International Trade Minister, with his own tweets during the leadership contest. So, Greg Hands effectively saying that what Liz Truss is saying is madness during the leadership contest, and then supporting her by being a minister. So yeah, Greg Hands, not great from him. That's why you don't, during a contest, you don't put up tweets criticising one of the candidates, especially if you're then going to go work for one of those specific candidates. You either sit on the fence, or if your person loses, you just sit out for a while. You don't go and work for them, because this is what can happen to you.
Rishi Sunak's rule for not borrowing for day-to-day spending would be recklessly irresponsible. It's not just wrong, it's dangerous, said this tweeter. As Rishi says, even Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell didn't go that far. Is that the same Greg Hands who was tweeting then, who is now speaking to me on the radio?
Well, look, the debate over the summer was about a set of proposals, policies, which aren't the same as the ones announced by the Chancellor of the Exchequer just a couple of weeks ago.
What's changed?
It's really important to know.
What's changed?
Here we go.
Well, what's changed, for example, has been the action on energy bills, which is the centrepiece of what the
Forgive
government
me, that's
is
nothing
doing
to do with what you said then. You said that borrowing for day-to-day spending, in other words, spending on tax cuts, for example, would be recklessly irresponsible. Look, here's another one, just for your interest. Borrowing and spending is not the Conservative way, said a man who seems to share your name and your job. He's called Greg Hands.
He's basically said, is this you? I mean, he's saying, effectively, he said, without saying it directly, is borrowing for these tax cuts would be irresponsible. And just obviously, which is true. But, Greg Hands really struggling here for an answer.
Why have you changed your mind?
Well, look, I think it's important to note that the government plans that were laid out just a couple of weeks ago, that actually, as I said, the biggest part of that was the action on energy. A second biggest part of it was action on reversing the rise in national insurance and also bringing forward
large amounts of it was to do with the keeping corporation tax where it is, which Liz Sunak was going to raise. The national insurance increase wasn't, I don't think it was that massive a part of the budget. And so what he's talking about is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense.
A tax cut, the base rate of income tax, the basic rate of income tax, which puts more money into the pockets of about 28 million people.
It puts more money in the hands of the rich than it does the working class or the middle class.
£350 a year. That is taking action.
I'm a man of very simple brain. I'm trying to understand this. When you tweeted, Rishi speaks out against fairy tale economics, whose economics was he describing as fairy tale? And what were the plans that he thought were fairy tale?
Well, look, over the summer, Nick, there were a number of different proposals flying around by people, frankly, attached to both camps, sometimes more loosely than others. I'd have to go back and see exactly what that was commenting on.
Will you forgive me for suggesting you're insulting people's intelligence? You're now defending a series of policies that you condemned as fairy tale,
I mean, that's brutal, isn't it? He just couldn't defend himself. I think if I were Nick Robinson, I would have looked at, the exact moments he kind of tweeted it. Greg Hands tweeted it and said, this was what was being said on the TV when you tweeted this. Stuff like that. But, Nick Robinson actually did a really good job here, which is, saying to the minister, well, you tweeted these things about Liz Truss's economic policies back then, and now suddenly you support them. And then Greg Hands trying to really squirm his way out, saying, well, I don't know specifically what was said at this specific moment when I tweeted that. That could have been about anyone. If Greg Hands had the dates, if Robinson had the dates, because at the end of the day, it was only a debate between two people in the end, Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. And if he's saying Rishi Sunak is right about the fairy tale economic policies, there's only one person he could have been referencing, which is Liz Truss. And Liz Truss is the only one who came out in the leadership debate with fairy tale economic policies. But shouts out Robinson for actually doing a decent job here. You gotta give credit where it's due to mainstream media. They can always do better, yes, but they wouldn't get the interviews as often if they did do better. But the day, I'm happy they're actually trying to actually question Tory MPs and ministers rather than letting them walk all over them in interviews and stuff like that. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.